for the no doubt thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that are interested in watching us do licensing. Before I ask other people to introduce themselves, I wait for Democratic Services to come in before I ask them to just go through the housekeeping arrangements. I should look who's here before I start to probably help.
Thank you, Chair. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please take instructions from staff and stewards. The assembly point is at Tudor Square. Please can I request everyone to switch mobile devices to silent mode so as to not disturb the conduct of the meeting. The meeting today will be webcast and the recording will also be available for people to view later through the Council's website. It is also possible that Sheffield Live TV will record and rebroadcast this meeting. Whenever the meeting is open to the public, photography, video and sound recording of the proceedings is permitted. However, the Chair has discretion to withdraw or suspend this permission, for example, if the recording is disrupting the conduct of the meeting or is being undertaken in a manner which could capture personal information, or in the event that a member of the public participating in a meeting object to it being recorded. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I'm not aware of any apologies for attendance at today's meeting or any reasons to exclude press or public. And do any members have any declarations of interest in the agenda? If not, then I'll repeat, because people's memories of names may be as bad as mine. I'm David Barker. I will be chairing the subcommittee this morning. To my left and right are the members of the committee who will introduce themselves.
I'm Anne Woolhouse. I'm a councillor and a member of the committee.
Councillor Joe Otten, member of the committee.
Raouf, you shall say. And we have a number of officers of the council who are working with us this morning. Can I ask you to introduce yourselves, please?
Morning, Samantha Bond, legal advisor to the subcommittee.
Good morning, Shelley Royston, senior licence and enforcement officer.
Claire Cummins, Democratic Services. I'm just taking the minutes this morning.
And could I ask the applicants to introduce themselves, please?
Catherine Jarvis, Police Licence and Enforcement Officer for Sheffield.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Bob Singh, Sheffield City Council Environmental Protection Service.
Could the licensee please introduce themselves? And if you use the microphone, it helps with my hearing and with the recording.
You have to press this. My name is Ernest Mojizwa. I'm for Zambezi Lounge.
Thank you, and again, welcome. We have a set procedure for these hearings, which should be at the back of your papers, and you'll notice that at point 4 of that, it says that the solicitor to the committee will outline the process. So, Sam, could you please outline the procedure for us?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check everyone's got a copy or can see a copy of papers that needs them? If not, we have got some spares available. Oh, sorry, Julie, we also forgot to introduce you on the webcast, sorry.
Well, thank you, Sam. Good morning, everybody. Julie Haig, the Safeguarding Licensing Manager for the Safeguarding Children Partnership. Thank you.
Hiding at the back of the room there. Okay, so as the Chair said, the procedure's right at the back of the papers on page 159. So the licensing officer, Shelley, this morning will introduce the report. If there are any questions concerning the report, that's the time for these to be raised. So if there's anything missing or inaccurate, that way we can get it amended for the record. So we'll turn to the applicant for the review first, which is Emma from Licensing Service, and they'll be asked to detail the review application. Members and officers will have an opportunity for questions, and with the leave of the Chair, other parties present can also ask you questions. We'll then turn to the other representatives for the responsible authorities. So we've got the police and environmental health protection. Environmental protection services, we'll try that one again. Again, you'll be asked to detail your representations just to expand and amplify what's been submitted in the report. Members and officers can ask questions, and with the leave of the Chair, the licensee can also ask all the responsible authorities present questions as well. So finally, we'll head over to the premises to respond to the review application and any other representations made, both in the report and orally at the hearing. Members can ask questions, and again, with the leave of the Chair, the responsible authorities may also ask you some questions as well. We'll head over to the responsible authorities just to sum up leave us with any key points before you have the final say on behalf of the premises, just to sum up the response to the review application. We'll then take the options from Shelley as detailed in the report. Members and officers are going to private session just to take legal advice and consider the application. So we'll just ask you to wait in that room there, and obviously you're free to come back in once we've made that decision, and we can give it you verbally a little bit later on. The decision of the Licensing Committee will be given in accordance with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003 and regulations made thereunder. At any time during the hearing, members can request legal advice, so we can do that in open session, as we are now, or private session, where we would just ask you all to wait next door while members take legal advice. We'll invite you in and feedback what that legal advice was. And as the Chair said, the hearing is public this morning. We may have people come in and out. It's unlikely, but if they do, they are entitled to be here as well. And that should be everything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. So, could we have the report then, please, Shelley?
Good morning, everybody. The purpose of the report this morning is to consider an application for the review of a premises licence made under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003 in relation to a premise Zambezi Lounge, 580 Attercliffe Road, Sheffield, S9 3QP. The application was made by the Licensing Service of Sheffield City Council on the 10th of September 2024 due to the premises continuing to carry out unauthorised licensable activities and repeatedly breaching conditions despite several attempts to assist the premise licence holder to be compliant from several of the Council's responsible authorities. The grounds for review are based on the following Licensing Act 2003 objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance. And the review application and supporting evidence is attached to Appendix A, which details the grounds of the review application. And a copy of the current premises licence, which is SY003133, is attached to Appendix B. The premise first became licensed on the 31st of October 2023. The responsible authorities had several interactions with the premises since this time due to continuous conditions breaches within the first few months of the licence being granted, as well as being placed on an action plan due to ongoing lack of compliance. During the representation period, the licensing authority have also received representations from the following parties: Sheffield Children's Safeguarding Partnership, which is at Appendix C, South Yorkshire Police, Environmental Protection Service and the Health Protection Service. With your permission, Chair, I won't go through all of the financial implications, legal positions and hearing regulations, and we'll go straight to the appeals and recommendations. The Licensing Act 2003, Section 181 and Schedule 5 makes provision for appeals to be made by the applicant, the holder of the premises licence and those making representations against decisions of the licensing authority to the Magistrates' Court. And recommendations for this morning are that members carefully consider the application for review along with any other representations made and take such steps as detailed in paragraph 5.2 above that the committee consider appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Shelley. Have members got any questions on the report at all? Do the applicants have any questions regarding the report? The interested parties have any questions regarding the report? And finally, does the licensee have any questions regarding the report? Are we happy that that's accurate?
Sorry, Chair, it's not a question, just to check, have you had the extra documents from the police from this morning? Has he had? Yeah. Have you had enough time to read through it and everything? Yeah, okay, lovely. Obviously, if you needed a little bit more, we can give you that this morning, but if you've had a chance to go through it, that's good. Also, just to clarify as well, sorry, Chair, the Health Protection Service have said that they weren't formally submitting a representation, they merely wrote the letter in support of the other responsible authorities, which is why they're not present here today. Just to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Joe?
Yes, can I just say, Appendix C is a little bit difficult to navigate because you've got multiple representations and the police one is subdivided into multiple categories and then it runs straight into the other two. So if anybody's a bit lost, it took me a while to work out. I don't know if in future we can kind of subdivide the different authorities a little bit more clearly.
I think that'll be noted, Joe, for hopefully we'll not have too many more of these, but you never know. So, on that note, if we go across to the applicants then, which is the licensing service this morning, to detail your case to us.
Thank you, Chair. So the reason for the submission the application of the review of the premises licence is for unauthorised licensable activities contrary to section 136 of the Licensing Act and breach of conditions attached to the premises licence. As detailed in the application, a number of visits have been undertaken to the premises as detailed in the supporting representation. Following the first visit that was undertaken, following the visit on the 28th of November 23, that resulted in a warning letter to be issued to the licence holder. Following a further visit, the premises was then placed on an action plan following breach of the conditions identified at the visit. A final written warning was then issued for breaches of the licence conditions identified on the 30th of April. There was a visit to check compliance with the action plan. Actions were identified to be remaining. Also identified issues with the toilets that were reported to the Health Protection Services, the relevant authority. They were addressed and resolved. And also issues we found with door staff records, signing in, one of the door staff not being licensed at the time that they were logged in to be working at the premises. So there was a further visit on the 18th of July. On reviewing CCTV, it was evidence that unauthorised licensable activities had taken place, namely the sale of alcohol after the permitted time of the licence. Further report regarding 10th into the 11th of August. Again, breaches of the permitted times, namely the sale of alcohol, were evidenced by CCTV. So, just to confirm in relation to planning permission for the premises, this is an active case with the planning and enforcement team. I don't have any update other than that. In relation to the potential breaches under the Private Security Industry Authority 2001, an investigation is being carried out by the investigation officer, who has confirmed that there have been no non-compliance issues uncovered during that investigation, and therefore that has been closed. You will note during the report was witnessed on CCTV, shisha was being smoked within the premises. A warning was issued to the licence holder by the Health Protection Officer. There was a further complaint received by Environmental Protection on the 21st of September 2024. A site meeting was arranged to take place on the 8th of October to investigate the complaint. Unfortunately, the licensee had to cancel that due to an emergency. This was then rescheduled for the 16th of October. Myself, South Yorkshire Police and Environmental Protection Officer attended to find that the licensee wasn't present. And that's it from me at the moment.
Thank you. I'll open it up to questions then. Joe, is there anything you'd like to ask licensing at the moment?
No.
Anne? No. Just a couple from, not quite off though, just a couple from me. You've had involvement with this place from not long after it opened by the look of it, and that involvement has been quite regular. Has there been anything that's improved, anything that gives you any confidence in the premises as a result of your involvement with it?
No. The premises has not only from day one been non-compliant with the conditions that were agreed to be relevant to support the licensing objectives, and also continued to operate beyond the permitted hours.
There is one question I'd like to ask. When you attended on the 16th of October and the licensee wasn't there, did they give any reason why he wasn't there on the second occasion? Because this was obviously the second time you'd arranged the meeting.
There was no communication from the licence holder.
Right, thank you.
And just finally from me for the time being, the amount of involvement you've had with this pub, the number of visits, the number of reports, how does that compare to other licensed premises in the city? Is this usual level of contact or?
Absolutely not. This is a significant amount of contact, support, advice, recommendations to support the licensee to comply with the licence, which obviously part of those are the conditions. No other premises that I am aware of has required this amount of visits, emails, correspondence to comply with the licence.
Thank you, that's helpful. Sam, is there anything you'd like to ask licensing?
Thank you, Chair. Are there any plans to prosecute the unauthorised licensing activities?
That decision hasn't been made yet.
Thank you. And is it the view of the licensing service that no further conditions that could be imposed would be effective, or do you think the premises might benefit from potentially a variation to impose different conditions or a change of DPS, or what's your position on that?
There's 25 conditions already placed on the licence, which are considered appropriate to uphold the licensing objectives. I cannot see what further conditions could be composed, and there's no confidence, given the evidence that the applicant has not complied since day one with the licence, that they would comply with any further conditions placed on the licence.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Does the licensee have any questions for the licensing service?
My question would be if they could show you the evidence of the condition, because when we met and we had an action plan, we had a next meeting. I've got some emails to support, to say, you've done so well, because they've sent me some of the things which we needed to put on the walls and everything. I think when we met the next time, if they can show the evidence, I think maybe it's about 5 things which we needed to work on. After all, maybe almost about 26 or so, which we're actually meeting, which we thought maybe we're making a lot of progress on the second meeting. So for them to say that we have never been trying to meet the conditions is really unbelievable.
Thank you. I'd just then seek clarity on that. Has there been progress in achieving the actions on the action plan at all?
Just to clarify, there has been progress made, but considering the amount of actions that were on that plan, some were very simple to comply with. For example, as it's been said, posters, etc. So there's never been full compliance with the conditions to date.
Thank you. So I shall now move on to the responsible authorities. I think I'll start with South Yorkshire Police because you're closest.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So my name's Catherine Jarvis and I work for the licensing service for South Yorkshire Police. And we have been involved with this premise from the very early stages of the licence application back on the 6th of September of 2023. An officer from our office attended a joint responsible authority meeting on the 19th of September to meet with Mr Mudsvidza and discuss his application for the licence. There was numerous concerns raised by all the authorities in attendance, and South Yorkshire Police were also concerned around the timings that were being proposed for the opening, as well as insufficient camera footage, CCTV cameras in the building. So we entered into some negotiations on the day of that visit, after the visit, and the admin officers for South Yorkshire Police requested several conditions to be added to the licence, which went through Mr Mudvisda's licensing representative at the time, and we were unable to come to some agreement, so our service put in an objection to the new grant application. At the sort of last minute, on the 26th of October, we did get agreement to our conditions, so they were agreed and added onto the licence. I do believe there was a hearing that went, because other authorities objected, but we weren't part of that hearing. We then had an email from Health Protection Services, who'd done a visit on the 28th, I think it was, of November. Let me just clarify that for a point. Yes, it was on the 28th of November. And the result of that visit, the HPS officer, the Health Protection Officer, Elaine, had raised concerns that there were some breaches of the licence conditions that she could note during her visit, and subsequently, I know the Council Licensing Service did provide a warning letter for those breaches. We did try, myself and the Council tried to attend on the 18th of January to do a spot check to see whether any of those conditions were now compliant, but there was nobody present at the premise on that date. We subsequently arranged a visit for the 30th of April, which is where we then noted a significant amount of breaches to the licence. Some of these were also what was in breach back in November, so despite the verbal advice that had been given by the officers in attendance on the 28th of November and the subsequent warning letter sent by Sheffield Council for the breaches and what was required to be compliant, we were quite disappointed to then see those items still cropping back up again, almost 4 months later. As you can see from the visit that we attended on the 30th, which is on page 2, Annex 4, page 2 of my bundle, we noted the following conditions were in breach. So conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. We were unable to confirm compliance with 7 and 9, but Mr Mudvisda believed he was compliant with those. We also then found Annex 3 conditions, which were conditions imposed upon the licence after the objections to the initial grant. We found conditions 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 and 10 in breach. Due to the significant number of breaches, myself and Gareth from the licensing service felt that there was the best option would be to place the premise on an action plan where we could clearly set out everything that we'd found in breach at the visit, what needed to be done to comply with the licence, and so we could help support Mr Mudvisda with that. I then draw your attention to give me a second. The email that was sent out, which is Appendix 5, page 1. This is the email that was sent out with the action plan attached. Documents that I included within that email was the action plan, a CCTV checklist, an incident log and a major incident log, refusals log, toilet log records, staff training log records, Challenge 25 posters, Challenge 25 policy training, authorised to sell log, spiking guidance, for fake ID training material, a link to the counter-terrorism training, violent incident protocol training, fake ID posters, leave quietly posters, no drugs posters, spiking posters. I sent out pretty much everything that Mr Mudvizza was going to need, so he didn't have to go and source those himself. So we were trying to help in every possible way for him to be compliant. Mr Mudvizza did send an email response back with some items of what we'd asked for. There were some items that were still outstanding, so there's been email exchanges between myself and Mr Mudvizza around those. I also emailed him prior to our visit in June with an email about a week before, just stating all the items that were still outstanding and which we would like to see at the visit. So he's had clear communication from ourselves about what is expected. At the next visit in June, we found that there were some improvements, like he's just referenced. Some of the posters were up. Some of the logs had been maybe not as complete as we would like. There was toilet log sheets, but the dates were missing off the log sheets, so we didn't know which dates that those logs were done. The door staff register wasn't as complete, and again, some of the writing was illegible in terms, so we weren't able to check everything that we would have liked to have checked. So we did, I actually wrote down whilst we were there at that visit the items that were still outstanding. I think there was 5 key points, as well as 1 or 2 areas that just needed a little bit more work doing to them. I also sent an email out to Mr Mudvizza detailing those extra items that were still required. And all of these communications, so every time we've had a visit, we've also had an email to back the visit up, clearly communicating everything that's required. And in those emails, we've also put that if there's anything he doesn't understand or anything that he needs support on or any assistance, he's to get in touch. He did get in touch with regards to, when we were at the meeting in the June, he'd advised that he'd not been able to get on to the counter-terrorism training. So I went back to the office and logged onto the counter-terrorism training myself and did screenshots of all the different screens and where he needed to click, what he needed to press, and sent that via email to him to allow him to be able to get onto that. I'm not sure if he did complete that training. Our next visit was in the July. So this was already booked in because there'd been a complaint to the noise team department and the council with regards to late night opening, loud noise coming from the premise. As I was looking on the Monday of the week of that visit, I noticed that South Yorkshire Police had also had a complaint from a member of the public that had been in attendance at the premise, and he said that he'd been assaulted, and he said he'd been assaulted by one of the door staff. He said he was leaving the premise between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and as he was leaving, he was shoved by the door staff at the side of, so Zambezi Lounge is on the corner of 2 roads. So you have the main road, which is Attercliffe Road, and then Staniford Road, and it's on the junction there. The entrance to the premise, there is one on the corner of both streets, but the main entrance that gets used is on Staniford Road. Next to the door for the main entrance is a small archway, which leads to the back of the premise and to the back of the premise next door. This gentleman said that he'd been shoved so hard that he fell into that alleyway. He broke his glasses, broke a chain from his neck, his watch, and he believes he may have actually fractured his finger. He said that the door staff apologised on the night, they exchanged numbers, and the incident, he said he wanted to, he phoned up actually, I think it was about 4:30 in the morning. He was on his way to A&E at the time to have his finger checked out. He said he would speak to officers once he returned from hospital. So the incident was pended for him to get in touch once he'd completed that visit to the hospital. Officers contacted the victim and the victim stated that he knew the person that had assaulted him. He confirmed it was a bouncer from the premise, but that he didn't want to provide his details because they've come to an agreement between them, and according to the victim, they'd been to a jeweller shop and he'd had his items of jewellery and his watch and his spectacles fixed and paid for by the door staff member. So during our visit to the premise to discuss this complaint, we did watch the CCTV footage of the incident, and what we could see is one doorman on duty, and we had the door staff register which also confirmed there was one doorman on duty. But there was a second doorman with a doorman's badge that hadn't signed in. We're not aware of who that person is. And whilst we were at the premise, Mr Mudvista said he would contact the doorman to ask, because he wasn't aware of any assaults that had occurred, and he didn't believe that his door staff would assault anybody. Mr Mudvista didn't contact the doorman that we had registered as working that night. He contacted another gentleman who we'd seen on the SIA register at our previous visit, and who at the time of that visit wasn't actually a registered door person. He contacted this gentleman, and we asked Mr Mudvista, why have you contacted this person? And his response was that he was contacting him because that person was there on the night and is the person that supplies the door staff for him. He also couldn't remember any incident occurring, but we do see the beginning of an assault starting on who we do believe is the victim, and this was at around about 03:45 hours, so around the time that the victim said the assault happened. You do see the main doorman that is on the register going to separate people, but then they all go off camera to where the alleyway is, and there's no camera that covers that angle. We then see about 30 seconds or so passes, and then everyone comes back into view, and you can see the victim holding out his hand with his broken items on his hand. So we can't confirm whether the assault was by door staff or not. And also the victim has refused to engage with police officers any further because he's resolved the matter himself privately. During that visit, when we were looking at the CCTV cameras, Mr Mudvista accidentally went to the wrong week and showed us the weekend of the 14th, and we also noted that the premise was open until nearly 5 a.m. that morning. So the premise was open till nearly 4 a.m. On the 7th, and then on the 14th it was open till nearly 5 a.m. Again, these breaches of the licence in hours and conditions. There's various conditions within the licence that permit people entering the premise after a certain time on both Friday and Saturday evenings, and we could clearly see from the CCTV footage people coming and going from the premise right up until the 4 a.m. and the 5 a.m. when the premise did close. So again, it was very disappointing because obviously when Mr Mudvista first applied for the premise licence back in September, we had concerns over the premise being open till, I think the original application was till 3 and 4 in the morning. That was what was objected to, and we entered into negotiations to reduce the hours. And it would appear that although he knows what those hours are and he's agreed to those, he's still operating past those times on a number of occasions that we're aware of. So we left with and then returned again. Just bear with me a moment. I think it was the end of August 22nd. We attended another visit to the premise. And again, we found that we still didn't have full compliance with the licence. We had some concerns. We were there because of another complaint around noise. Unfortunately, the noise officers weren't able to attend that visit. We did have a look at the CCTV. Again, we found sales of alcohol after the permitted times. We found shisha being smoked in the premise inside, which again is in breach of the smoking regulations. and again the premise was open till nearly 3 a.m. in the morning. Mr Mudvista had some representatives with him, one of which was the gentleman that was the alleged doorman that we had no badge for. We checked the register again, and that person was back on the register, but this time with a proper badge number, and we checked that whilst we were there, and they were then licensed. But they said they were acting as Mr Mudvista's solicitor at the time of our visit. They intimated that maybe Mr Mudvista was not clear on what his licensing conditions were and what was expected of him. They suggested that there might have been verbal communication issues, or maybe he didn't receive the emails, or he didn't understand the emails, to which I responded that I've always found Mr Mudvista quite capable of understanding everything that we've discussed, and he has responded to the emails that I've sent out, and does appear to understand. And I did reiterate that multiple times all authorities have discussed with Mr Mudvista his opening hours. So he is fully clear on what his hours are. He just chooses to ignore those and operate his business how he chooses. I just refer to the new witness statement that I submitted first thing this morning. I do apologise for the delay in that. I was waiting for the visit from the weekend from our police officers. As you can see on page 1 of my statement, I asked officers to attend on the weekend of the 4th and 5th of October. This was before our visit was intended to be on the 8th of October to discuss another noise complaint and breach of hours. I think the complaint also discussed customers urinating outside, fighting in the street, and general antisocial behaviour as part of that complaint. Officers attended on the 4th and the premise was closed at the appropriate time. They attended on the 5th. This was around about 10:30, so they'd done an early visit. They found the door staff that was on duty, which is the main doorman that they use, was argumentative. They were eventually allowed access. The premise did appear in order at the time, and only a small number of patrons inside. They didn't witness any smoking, and there was no opportunity to re-attend after 1:30, unfortunately, so we're not sure whether the premise closed on time on that occasion. Mr Mudvista obviously had to rearrange our October 8th meeting to the 16th of October. I then asked the officers to attend again on the Friday the 11th and Saturday the 12th of October. And those visits, for the Friday, there was nobody free to attend, unfortunately. The Saturday, which is the 12th into the 13th, they did attend at 01:42. We have spoken with the manager, Ernest, who stated that they did close at 1:30. However, officers have witnessed 2 people enter the premise at 01:40, which again is in breach of condition number 4 of the licence, which is no entry or re-entry shall be permitted after 10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, 11 p.m. on Friday and midnight on Saturday until the premise is closed to the public. It wouldn't apply to anybody in a designated smoking area. So officers gave strong words of advice, and he was warned with regards to the premise constantly in breach of the licensing agreement. We then come to the 16th. Officers from multiple responsible authorities attended at the premise. They found 2 males inside playing very loud music, but Mr Mudvista was not present. They advised that he was at another meeting, and that was we had no contact from Mr Mudvista himself. I then asked officers again to attend the premise, and this was on the Friday the 18th and the Saturday the 19th. Unfortunately, no officers were free to attend that weekend. They were then also asked to attend this weekend just gone, so that's the Friday the 25th into the 26th. They did attend at 01:15 hours and the venue was still open, multiple people still inside, approximately 50 at their count. Officers have entered and spoken with the manager, advising him people would need to leave the venue as the curfew was 00:30 hours. He's been amenable to this and people have left the venue. There was no visit on the Saturday. As part of the further evidence, I've got Exhibit CJ1, which is Festive Fridays. This is taken from their Facebook page on the 5th of September. I draw your attention to the poorly drawn arrow, which points to the advertisement of the times, which is 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. Again, the licence on a Friday is only till midnight. Well, midnight for alcohol, midnight for everybody to be off. CJ2 exhibit, which is the next one along, is a events ticketing site, which was advertising an event on the 7th of October. And on the top section, I do apologise, it's very difficult to see, but under Libra 23, it states Saturday, October the 7th, 2023, from 8 p.m. to Sunday, October 8th, 2023, till 3 a.m. So this is in October, when Mr Mudvista has not actually got the premise licence, but he's still advertising and selling tickets for events past the hours, again, that we were trying to negotiate at that time. And then, lastly, as part of my evidence within the most recent statement, I draw your attention to Exhibit CJ3 and CJ4, which again are taken from the Facebook page of the premise. These were from the 30th of July, but these advertisements do repeat on their Facebook page. And these are advertising Supernova Saturdays, which is barbecue on the balcony, and Chill Out Sundays, which again, barbecue on the balcony. I raised concerns about this with food hygiene because we weren't aware that the premise was doing food from the original application. Not actually quite sure where this balcony is. I couldn't see it from within the premise, so unsure as to what activities, licensable or not, were taking place there. So I referred it to the food hygiene, and as you can see, their emails there, they were not aware that the premise was selling food. So when they've done their assessments, initially when the premise licence was first applied for, they've not actually assessed the premise for food. So we don't know about how they store the food, how they cook the food. So there's concerns there. They will be looking to do a visit pending this hearing, whether the licence remains or not, to check what that is all about. I think just to summarise, really, although Mr Mudvista has made some areas of improvement, he's still failing to comply with the main part of the licence, which is the timings of the licence. It's our submission that there is no more conditions that could be added to this licence. There's already a significant amount of conditions on the licence. We don't feel there's any more that you could add there to enforce compliance. Mr Mudvista has been aware that this licence review hearing has been pending for many weeks now, and has continued, as you can see from the officer visits, to operate past his licensable times. He doesn't appear to have made any efforts to comply with his licence in preparation for today's hearing. I do apologise. I do want to also just take you briefly to back to the visit when we went in the July. Initially, when we were speaking with all officers were present, and we asked Mr Mudvista about the operating times, he did advise that he had left the premise and he'd gone for an emergency for his child in Manchester, and he'd left a family friend in charge, despite having numerous staff members that work there on a permanent basis who have had all the training that we'd ask him to complete well, they hadn't completed it with every member of staff, but the staff that were present that night had completed the training. He didn't leave them in charge, he left a family member in charge, and he said that it was that family member who didn't understand the hours of the premise, and that's why they were open past the times that they were supposed to be open past. We initially accepted Mr Mudvidster's version of events and gave advice that if he is to leave in an emergency, he needs to leave trained staff who are aware of all of his conditions and have had the suitable training in charge. If he doesn't have anybody, then he would need to close the premise down, and that would be the safest option for him. But upon watching the CCTV footage of the inside of the premise on that night, I noticed a male that looked just like Mr Mudvidster on the footage, and I asked him, "Is that you?" And he advised it was him, and we had the conversation. "Well, I thought you said that you had gone and you didn't return." And he said, "Well, I went, but I went for a little bit." So we looked at some more footage earlier on in the evening and found that actually he hadn't left at all and that he had been present the entire evening. So it made it very difficult for us to be able to trust Mr Mudvidster when he says he's doing things or he's going to comply with things, when he can lie multiple times to us during his visit. So I would ask in submission that you revoke the premise licence. I know Mr Mudvidster has detailed in his supporting evidence that this is a community place for people to come and meet each other. That can still be a place for people to meet. If you revoke the licence, they can meet in the daytime and it can be more of a community centre. So that wouldn't necessarily impact on those people being able to still gather and meet. So I would request that you consider revocation of this premise licence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have members got any questions? Anne, is there anything you'd like to ask South Yorkshire Police?
No, I think that's been very comprehensive, thank you.
Joe, is there anything you would like to ask the police?
No, thank you. I think it's yes, I'm satisfied.
Just sort of similar things, the licensing then, you know, is this level of involvement unusual?
Yes, it is, to not get compliance. I don't know how many times we have to go through the conditions, and we have to go through the hours for Mr Mudvidster to comply. So it is unusual in that he's gone so many steps but not fully got there, and we've had numerous visits. And again, you know, everything's been explained in writing, verbally. I provided, you know, many items of material to help support that compliance. So no, we would have expected full compliance before now. But as I think we've evidenced within the bundle, Mr Mudvidster has got a total disregard for his licence and his licensing hours, and is choosing to purposefully operate outside of that. And there's not a lot we can do in support of somebody if they're not going to be doing their bit. And I don't believe Mr Mudvidster is doing the best he can be doing. Thank you.
Sam, is there anything you'd like to ask the police at this stage? Would the licensee like to ask any questions of the police at this stage?
I don't know if it's a question or just saying something in our... I think on the 8th of October, they've mentioned that they put an appointment with us. It was actually Bob Singh who wrote to me that he wanted to meet me to deal with noise, to see if we put the noise limiter. Yeah. So it was only him who had said he was going to meet me. He didn't mention another person. And then I was not available at that time. Then on the 16th, I organized a meeting again with Bob. So it was Bob who was coming. And then I don't know, other people as well were coming, but I was not told that they were coming. So I was only meeting Bob for him to come and see if we put the noise limiter. He was very much clear on that. that he wanted to see if we're complying with the noise music. And then that's why they're saying that they found 2 males playing loud music. Why they were doing that? Because they put the limiter. So the sound engineer was there to demonstrate so that they can even go outside and check how much noise we were making. But when they came, they didn't even bother to check if that noise limiter was on. But those guys, we had brought them to actually show them and play that music so that they can measure, or even they can ask them even to up the music, whatever questions which they were having about the noises. Because noises has been an issue as well, but we have never been given the evidence because we go outside and measure the noise. Nobody's ever come to give us the evidence to say, right, this is what you're doing, this is the evidence we have that you're making noise. But it's always a complaint that we're making noise, but nobody's ever come up to break. That's why we were very happy when he said he wanted to check for the noise. But when they came, they didn't even bother to check that. On the issue of terrorism.
This is just a chance for questions. Once all the responsible authorities have spoken, then you'll have as long as you wish to respond to everything that they've said and give your case. So if you can just hang fire until safeguarding and environmental protection have had the says, then the floor's yours and you can go through and address all the issues that have been raised. Okay. It's just process. We do it a certain way. So,
Sorry, can I just check, did you email to arrange the visit for the 16th, or was it just directly from Bob?
Do you want me to answer that? Do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Well, sorry, thanks, Sam. I'll try and keep this brief. Our relationships with responsible authorities, it was myself in respect to this premises that arranged the meeting on the 8th in light of a noise complaint, and I'll explain that in my representation. But common practice between responsible authorities, if one arranges it, given it's a high-risk premises, we do invite other responsible authorities to attend. Given the premises on an action plan, given that it was a pending review of the premises licence, and that's normal common practice for all licensed premises.
It's helpful to get some clarity on things. So, while Julie still has a connection before the internet disappears, could we ask you to give your safeguarding concerns, please?
Thank you, Chair, and I will be brief. I'm here today to, first of all, answer any questions the subcommittee might have about why the Sheffield Children's Safeguarding Partnership is asking for a prohibition of children under the age of 18 if the committee decides not to revoke the licence and retain it. So the reason the Safeguarding Partnership is concerned, they're twofold. First of all, the premises operates as an adult venue. It's been evidenced by the responsible authorities not to provide a suitable environment for children and young people. And secondly, we have serious concerns about non-compliance. When the premises opened on the 31st of October last year, licence conditions were attached to restrict access to children. So it wasn't prohibited, it was restricted. The operator was new, Ernest was new to the business, so we felt that was the safest way to go. And these conditions included that the DPS had to attend safeguarding training and do a safeguarding risk assessment from the get-go. From October 2023 until May 2024, when the premises was placed on an action plan, that condition hadn't been complied with. So Mr. Musvidra hadn't attended the training. In response to the action plan, he did attend the training in May 2024, but due to concerns raised by responsible authorities about ongoing non-compliance, and the premises opening into the early hours, antisocial behaviour, smoking, etc., I requested that a voluntary prohibition policy was implemented to prevent under 18s from accessing the premises. And again, Mr. Musvidra agreed. So there was a prohibition in place. However, there was a caveat there because DPS did say that in future he intended to attend, he intended to host functions. I do apologise, as a dog barking. He intended to host functions including children and families. We were concerned that we didn't want to rely on a voluntary policy, and that's the reason for the representation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Julie. Have members got any questions for safeguarding, Joe? I think we'll... that's very clear and helpful. I don't, there's nothing that we wish to ask unless Sam's got anything to ask. Oh, you see, you're off the hook quite easily. We may not be as nice to Bob. So, Bob, would you like to give us your representations, please?
Thank you, Chair. All. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. So I do apologise for repetition. Colleagues have already explained. Bob Singh, Environmental Protection, deal with all public nuisance, noise, environmental protection issues, and this representation solely in respect of said matters. I'll refer to Mr Muzra as the licensee, if that's okay with you, Ernest. Said premises, Zambezi Lounge has failed in its obligations to promote the core objective relating to the prevention of public nuisance, and for the past year or so, since September 2023, we've noticed a continued observed breach of conditions attached to the premises licence, and I'll go back. They're attached to Appendix B, 2 in particular, as we continue. I'd like to clarify the details of our investigation in respect to a statutory noise nuisance investigation, an investigation under the Licensing Act 2003. On the 3rd of September 2023 at 26 minutes to 1, we received our first official complaint from a local resident, multi-issue complaint. However, it was also regarding an unacceptable level of noise caused by noise breakout of amplified sound. The resident provided video evidence of the alleged. Unfortunately, we've given GDPR data protection considerations. We can't submit in this format. We also received a second complaint on the same day, which is the Sunday following the Saturday, 10 to 7. Again, the premises reopened, an unacceptable noise caused by noise breakout of amplified sound. EPS was formally consulted on the premises licence application for the grant on the 6th of September. We arranged a site meeting to discuss the actual noise complaint and the grant application on the 19th of September 2023. It was a joint responsible authorities meeting. Discussions indicated that the premises to be run as a late night bar, nightclub, rather than food-led premises as stipulated in the premises licence application. The licensee was advised the building is a Grade 2 listed building and not considered fit for purpose to contain noise of amplified sound. The building itself does not have planning permission to operate as a late night venue stroke nightclub, and we advised further advice should be sought from the local planning authority on this matter. We offered proactive advice in respect of noise, how to reduce noise, etc., and we recommended seek professional advice from a competent and/or professional acoustic consultant to satisfy the requirements of Sheffield City Council standards, EPS standards. We advised that we'd be formally objecting to the grant application and recommending conditions and a reduction in hours to support the police in such to assist in achieving the core objective relating to the prevention of public nuisance. We explained our enforcement procedure and powers available under the Environmental Protection Act 1990 and Licensing Act 2003. 19th September, we were informed by colleagues from South Yorkshire Police and Health Protection Service of a planned unlicensed event to be held on the 29th of September. On the 19th of September, we reviewed what information we hold in respect to this site, and we informed the local planning authority that it's currently operating as a licensed premises, and we'd like you to investigate the use of the building and whether it's got correct permissions in place. I believe that it's an active investigation, however, we have no update from the local planning authority. 20th of September, we instructed colleagues of the nighttime enforcement team to visit on the 23rd of September to gather evidence in respect to the unplanned event. 21st of September 23, we formally submitted our representation to the grant application, recommending conditions. I'll go back to the two conditions actually later. On the 23rd, Officer of the Nighttime Enforcement visited at 21:45 and 20 to midnight. The premises was closed, it was in darkness, there was no nuisance witnessed. On the 2nd of October 23, there was a late 10 received for an event proposed on the 7/8th of October 23 between the hours of 7 and 0300 hours. Myself, EPS and colleagues of South Yorkshire Police objected to the actual 10 taking place, and there was no grounds for appeal given it was a late 10. On the 27th of October 23, the licensee formally agreed to all EPS conditions and reduction in hours. Can I refer you to Appendix B, a copy of the premises licence, conditions number 13 and 14. There are several EPS conditions, but these are the two conditions in place. Condition number 13, the wording of the first line is, no live music and or amplified sound shall be played within the building unless a scheme of sound attenuation works has been installed and thereafter retained. Such scheme shall be works and it follows on with our technical standards. So I just want to point out the fact, no live and or amplified music shall be played. Following the installation of the scheme, condition number 14, again, before live music and or amplified sound shall be played within the building, validation testing is required. I'll keep referring back to conditions number 13 and 14 later in my representation. As previously explained, the licensee agreed to all our conditions and the hours. On the 27th of October, in light of our conditions, the licensee confirmed that all speakers are removed from site and will be reinstated when EPS conditions are satisfied. The licensee verbally confirmed appointed Hepworth Acoustics have been appointed to complete the noise survey to satisfy our standards. A copy of the report, again, Hepworth reports, is attached in Appendix B, very technical in nature, and I'm not going to go through it. In light of the above, we withdrawn our formal objection on the 30th of October. 19th of November 23, we received another complaint from a local resident at 13 minutes past 1 in the morning. Multi-issue complaint, including unacceptable level of noise caused by noise breakout of amplified sound and antisocial behaviour of customers until the early hours of the morning. Again, video evidence was provided by the resident. On the 21st of November, we sent an email to the resident informing them that we would investigate and to continue to keep a log, dates, times, video evidence, etc., of when the noise is audible and disturbing said resident. Again, 21st of the 11th, another complaint, 2132, with further information and video evidence received from the complainant. On the 22nd of November 23, we informed all responsible authorities, namely licensing and South Yorkshire Police, of the above complaint. A meeting was arranged, a discussion was held, on the 22nd of November regarding the recent noise complaint and continued breach of EPS conditions which were in Annex 3 of the premises licence, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 and 20. A meeting was arranged on the 28th of November 23 to discuss this matter in further detail and continued breach of conditions. On the 23rd of November, we received a copy of the noise survey impact assessment received from Hepworth's. As part of the actual report survey, I'll refer back to it again, there was a scheme of works recommended that the licensee had to install and implement at financial cost. Three main things: installation of secondary glazing, installation of a sound limiting device, and replacement of the new doors. Little bit of a conflict given it's a grade 2 listing building, so we did agree for the works to be completed in a phased manner. However, advice still needed to be sought by the local planning authority in respect of any structural alterations, both internally, externally. I believe to date, and the licensee can correct me if I'm wrong, that I don't think any advice was sought from the local planning authority. I might be incorrect. On the 24th to the 25th, nighttime enforcement officers conducted proactive monitoring at 10 o'clock, 10 to midnight, 0100 hours. The premises lights were on, however the premises appeared closed. There was no customers noted, no music being played, no nuisance witnessed. We had a site meeting on the 28th of November, visit to the Zambezi lounge, myself and colleagues of the Health Protection Service, met with the licensee and his brother named Carlos, or a friend or a colleague named Carlos. Unfortunately, officers of the licence service are unable to attend and sent apologies. We were informed regarding the complaint on the 18th of November that a legendary live singer required the premises to host an event in Sheffield, and the licensee offered Zambezi lounge. The licensee could not confirm what time the event finished and offered no reasonable explanation for playing music and operating beyond permitted times. There was no CCTV footage available at the time in question. Again, at this point, we refer to conditions 13 and 14, which show a clear breach. No live music or amplified sound should be played in the building. We issued a formal warning. Again, the breach of conditions explained in detail. We advised if further events were held, including music, then we would continue to receive complaints and we have sufficient evidence. Then we'd look at taking enforcement action under our own powers of the Environmental Protection Act and serving as a Section 80 abatement notice. The licensee again assured that no further events will be held involving the playing of live and recorded music until satisfactory compliance of conditions. At this particular time, we encouraged the licensee to speak with the local residents because we believe they were known to one another. We encourage that, a good communication strategy, given you our neighbours, which in turn may result in no further complaints, etc. Again, we pointed out several breaches of the premises licence are noted, and we informed colleagues of the licensing service of our visit. 29th of November, officers of the nighttime enforcement conducted proactive monitoring at midnight. The premises lights are on, open sign illuminated, background music being played, barely audible outside the resident's property, no nuisance witnessed. Previously explained this, the noise impact assessment, recommendations in terms of mitigation work was provided, glazing, limiter, new installation and replacement doors, air conditioning, mechanical ventilation. On the 12th of December 23, the licensee confirmed air conditioning was installed throughout the premises and is complete in progression of the remaining works in conjunction with the landlord of the building. Again, we advised the licensee we're happy to accept the completion of the work in a phased manner. However, please do not play live and or amplified music until all works are complete and validation testing is conducted in accordance with condition 14 on the premises licence. We received another complaint on the 7th of July 24. Unacceptable noise, amplified music, breakout, and the premises was operating beyond permitted hours and finish time of 0300 hours. Video evidence was provided of the alleged again to our service. Strangely, we didn't receive any complaints for several months. It came to our attention that we believe that communication has broken down or did break down at this particular time between the local resident and the licensee. The 11th of July 2024, we informed colleagues of licensing services, Sheffield Police and Safeguarding Julie in respect to the above complaint. We held a responsible authorities meeting on the 18th. The complaint was discussed in detail. Repeating what my colleague Catherine of the police said, the licensee confirmed he left the premises at 11 o'clock and a member of staff was supervising the premises. We discussed the requirements to comply with relevant conditions in respect to the prevention of public nuisance. Inspection of the premises was undertaken at this point. Secondary glazing has been installed, which is good. An example of a noise limiting device was shown, however not installed. So it was a physical piece of equipment, but it was not installed in the premises. Validation testing has not been completed. We explained continuing breach of EPS conditions 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Myself and a colleague, Paul Thornton, we left the meeting early. Again, 11th of August, we received another complaint from a local resident alleging loud music, and the event finished at 0200 hours in the morning. Again, we sent an email to the actual resident, provide further details, along with informing colleagues of the responsible authorities of the alleged complaint. On the 14th, we informed the licensee in writing about the complaint and continued requirement to comply with licence conditions and permitted hours. Continued on the 16th of August. We informed the resident that the licensing colleagues are potentially pending a review of the licence, the premises licence, and we would support that given the continued breach of EPS conditions on the premises licence. 27th of August, we received an email from our colleagues in licensing explaining that she met with the licensee on the 23rd of August, etc., and in the process of preparing a review application. 30th of August, received another complaint about an unacceptable level of noise caused by noise breakout of amplified sound. The premises was operating beyond permitted hours on the 24th, 25th following day, August 24. The resident was worried about forthcoming weekends and opening hours. We informed colleagues again of responsible authorities. 21st of September, received another complaint at 1 minute past 1. Multi-issue complaint from a local resident, including unacceptable noise of a breakout of amplified sound and antisocial behaviour of customers. Again, we informed responsible authorities and colleagues on the 30th of September. I informed on the 1st of September, 1st of October, licensee regarding the most recent complaints and arranged a meeting on the 8th of October. As previously explained, this is common practice. One responsible authority may arrange a meeting, and we do invite colleagues, responsible authorities, given it's a high-risk premises. That particular meeting, when we attended on the 8th, the premises was closed, Ernest was not available. Sorry, we didn't attend, that was on the 16th. Explained had an emergency on the morning of the 8th, and can we rearrange? Again, at this particular point, we rearranged for the 16th, and at this time, the sound limiter, licensee informed us that it was working, etc. When we attended, licensee Ernest was not present. Colleagues were licensing and police were in attendance, and 2 males were actually at the venue. But unfortunately, given third-party consent, a responsible authority, we're unable to discuss this matter with a contractor, and we require DPS or premises licence holder to be present on that occasion. Hence the reason, the answer to the question of the licensee, we were unable to conduct any testing of the equipment and or inspect the premises. I think briefly, sorry about the long representation, briefly to summarise, it's taken a lot of time, resources of the EPS over a 12-month period, which we would not accept. We've offered advice, support, guidance, tried to work in achieving satisfactory compliance of conditions with an operator, and it wouldn't take this duration or a long time in our experience. I've been an officer for nearly 21 years, and this is probably one of the most complex involved cases to date in my experience. There's continued a breach of conditions on the premises licence, as you know, the most recent of weekends. Condition 13, no live or amplified sound should be played within the building. It's been 1 year, literally 1 year, since we've agreed these conditions, and continue to play music throughout the building. We believe the licensee is dragging his feet, unwilling to promote the core objective relating to the prevention of public nuisance, resulting in complaint after complaint to this service, and shows he is unable to effectively manage the premises. We, EPS, as a responsibility, we just have no confidence and trust in the licensee to adhere to further conditions imposed to the licence. Should the DPS or premises licence holder remain in situ, we just believe there's still going to be continued further breach of conditions, and we'll just continue to receive complaints. And that's nothing further to add, Chair.
Sam, is there anything you...
Yeah, I'd like to just...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Easy to miss.
Yes, thank you. That was a very comprehensive report. There was one point when you said there were no complaints, a short period, and I couldn't work out whether it was a breakdown from the residents who stopped reporting it, or whether it was a breakdown between the residents and the licensee.
My understanding in our job, we try to encourage operators and residents to speak to one another to resolve any outstanding issues, matters, etc. I believe the licensee was aware who the actual resident was. They do live in close proximity. And then for a period of 7 months, really, I can give you the dates, it's in my representation, we didn't receive any complaints in that period. However, when it came into July 24, when the complaints started again, we were informed that breakdown in communication between the licensee and the resident had broken down. And that's when the complaints continued.
Thank you.
Sam, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Just to clarify, sorry, did you say you've issued an abatement notice? Or?
To date, we have insufficient evidence to take any enforcement action to serve Section 80 abatement notice. The reason being the complaints are not received week in, week out, every Friday, Saturday. We've carried out proactive monitoring. Officers of the nighttime enforcement team have visited on several occasions. On occasions, there's just been insufficient evidence. And by the complaint history, as per the representation, the complaints are very sporadic, once or twice a month, not every particular weekend.
Okay. So I know, as a matter of course, you tend, when there's a complaint, to give the resident the noise log, so you can keep a log of that if necessary, install the relevant equipment potentially in their premises. Is this a premises also that's on the nighttime noise nuisance, sort of their rota, or is it a regular premises you want them to visit?
Yes, that's correct. So we instructed officers of the nighttime enforcement team to carry out proactive monitoring, which they've done on several dates and times on behalf of us.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think that's the applicants and all the responsible authorities have had their opportunity to have the say. So it's over to you as licensee to respond to what people have been saying and tell us why you think you should keep your licence for this premises.
What I can say is I think it has been a very difficult time for us. I think we are dealing with dynamic kind of a people. Our people normally, we struggle in terms of what times our people can come together and enjoy themselves together, listening to some kind of their own music as well as kind of cultural. So normally they tend to come a little bit late. So in terms of timing, we'd just like to apologize that on that area. I think we've lagged a bit on that one, and it's been our first year. We've been having all these kind of challenges, but what we can ask this committee today is to check some of the progresses which we've made, which is quite plausible, bringing the community together, having a place where they can come and discuss issues. We've started to realize that we've got a lot of challenges which are facing as an ethnic minority in this country, like mental health issues. People suffer on their own when they're in their houses. But to be honest, I started this as a business, but later I realized that I'm doing something big for the community. I've lagged in some other things, maybe might be pressure of running other businesses, which I do. But I think bringing the community together has been a very, very big thing for me. I wouldn't mind if at any point I can step down as the DPS for this, and then this venue can be given to the community, and they can continue using it as a community and out of it. Because one of the incidents which happened, which the police have recorded, is on the I think it should be on the 17th or 16th when a young man was reported missing he was having problems with his marriage, which are some of the things people are facing in day-to-day life. He's a young black man, Marvin, was reported missing, and the police have got that log, I think, on the 18th, 10/23, they came to Zambezi. Fortunately, I was there. I talked to the police, and they said they are looking for this young man. They've been looking for him, I don't know whether for a day or something. They said if we find, or if we have any information, if we get any information, we report it to them. But fortunately on that, because you only knew where you can go and get help is at Zambezi Lounge, where you can meet other young people, where you can meet other older people to talk to. You couldn't go to town to meet people there, but he met people at Zambezi Lounge, and we rang the police, who responded swiftly, and they had almost an hour talking to this young man because he was suicidal. And today we're very happy as a community that that young man is alive. We understand that we've got a pool table in Zambezi where people can come and play pool. We have held some sauce as well where people can come and dance. So what we think as a community is for this council today to listen to us. I'm not going to be selfish to say I need to continue being the DPS for Zambezi Lounge. Of course, I've started it, but because of some of the shortcomings which we have realized as we go along, I'll be very much happy to leave this for the community, to use this place for themselves. I understand there's a lot of our young people and even older people who have been experienced in running bars and clubs. We've got people who come to Zambezi. Some are doctors, some are nurses, some are bus drivers. With a lot, I think in every care home here in Sheffield, Barnsley, South Yorkshire, we always find a few young people from Africa who are here today. They've been offering, of course, which has brought a lot of young people. They had a shock to find the culture in this country so different. They need to go somewhere after hard work, after long hours, where they can gather, talk to each other. It's therapeutic to them. For them to come and go maybe to town, it will be very much difficult for them, because you go to town in a club, maybe only one, because you can't coordinate that to say, let's meet there. But at Zambezi, they know that people from Africa are at Zambezi. They can go, they can talk to them, they share the same culture. We're not saying they don't have to integrate, but people should choose when they want to go to town, but at least you have a place where they can meet, have a drink, talk together. It just helps them in their releasing pressure, the pressures which they find here, whereby they're just inside the house, work, back inside the house, work, but they need somewhere where they can meet together and try to distress. I'm not going to ask a lot of questions about things which have been said. They've said very clearly that yes, we have our shortcomings. It's running an organization. It has been our first year. It has been very difficult. We've put a lot of money to try to improve, to meet the conditions which have been raised. In the issues of counter-terrorism, yes, we've done the training. I've sent them the information that I've done it. If they check on their logs, they can see if they log in. And one of my staff members, Judith, has done the counter-terrorism training as well, to make sure that our people are safe. And like Bobby said, that there might have been a breakdown in communication with the person who complains about our venue is the next door bar, which means there's a little bit of conflict, but we're not going to defend on that on those lines. But it's a bar as well, which is almost the same as us. So some of the things which have been mentioned was saying that they could smell cannabis being smoked from outside, which we object totally, because that we saw that in the newspapers. We have everything in the building to say that we don't promote smoking. It's not every people of our own people who I think the police are very much aware when they wrote it in the newspaper of the place where things like drugs are being done, not in Zambezi. We don't do that. So in this one, I'll rest my case to say, if you can only help us to keep this place for our own people so that they can use it, and then I can exonerate myself from there. We ask the community if there are any DPSs we want, because there are two which I know that there are DPSs, but I don't want to choose. I want the community to choose and take the lead role in what they want to do. But myself, I can exonerate myself, and I won't be the DPS for Zambezi Lounge. But please just keep the place for our only people to use it.
Thank you. I'll open this up to questions then now, if that's okay. So, Joey, is there anything you would like to ask the licensee?
Thank you. Yes. So, thank you for the presentation. I mean, I think you've given a good account of yourself in terms of your role in the community. Unfortunately, I think we're here to consider, obviously, the premises and whether it meets the licensing objectives, which is a slightly disconnected question. Can I ask? There's a letter in the pack at the end of Appendix C that's titled "Submission of Premises Licence Holder." Dear Sir, Madam, we the management of Zambezi Lounge Bar, and it's just signed at the end of the management. Is that from you? Is that your submission to?
Yes, we did.
To this, is it? I mean, again, the letter gives a good account, I should say. But I mean, I question. You say, for example, our commitment to full compliance with all legal requirements is unwavering. Is it unwavering? Is it? I mean, we've got a submission here saying that just this last weekend, you were, after this review was scheduled, after this paper was published, this weekend you were again open after the time in which your licence says you should close. That doesn't say to me unwavering commitment.
I think as well, it's only maybe when we get to this stage, we are looking at we're focusing as well on the good things which we are doing and the times which are complying. I think if we're measuring it up to a percentage, we'll be doing really well. But those are the kind of slip-ups which have happened along the way, which I admitted to say, yes, we've made some slip-ups on there, and we are really sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. I mean, there comes a point there, doesn't there? I mean, you've been told many times, and you've said you've got an unwavering commitment to fully comply. And this weekend, like 2 days ago, that was after you've said your commitment is unwavering, after you've been told many times that you need to comply with the regulations. And it's not a slip-up that you've learned from, it's a failure to learn from everything, isn't it?
I'm totally agreeing with you. But what I'm saying is we've done a lot of good things which have not been mentioned. And I think if we compare it on a level of saying the ratio of how good we've done, I think we've been doing quite well. But and I agree with you that we've lagged somehow on the timings, which I can admit to that.
Yeah, on several of the visits, when there have been people on the premises after hours, you've said each time it's friends and family. Are your friends and family aware of the pressure it's putting on the licensing hours, that you still allow this to happen?
I think some of the things maybe we didn't communicate to them. We are sorry about the pressures which is put on the authorities, but however, at one point we thought if we were just in Zambezi with our friends and family, we can relax talking, and only when we did one of the meetings, that's where it was clarified that even if you're friends and family, you have to close. But we thought that if everybody is gone and with my friends and family, we can relax and have a laugh in Zambezi.
Are they aware though that they shouldn't be drinking and be on the premises after those hours? The licenses hours, I know you're saying they're friends and family, but are they aware of the pressure it's putting on you by keeping it open after hours?
I don't think so.
Have you done anything to make them aware of that?
After our meeting, I explained to them that we're no longer allowed, even if we've closed, we're not allowed to be drinking beer in these premises.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a couple of things from me. I mean, firstly, we've heard a lot of evidence from a number of authorities about things connected with Zambezi. Can you just confirm, is everything that we've heard and that's in our packs today correct? Is there anything that you dispute that's been said today?
Yeah, there are some areas which we strongly dispute, like where they said one of our doormen was on duty and assaulted a member of the public. I think these people have talked together, but that day in question, the guy who was involved was not on duty. He was not even wearing a badge. They've seen it on CCTV, but despite us telling them that that person was not on duty, was not working, it has always came back and pressing on that. But I'm sure the police themselves, they know the person in question, and they've got the log on that day of the people who were working, and that person was even not working. So why we're saying that, we're saying Zambezi still is a very safe place for people to come together and mix. Yeah, that's all I can say.
And you know, you've had a number of visits from people in this room and others. Have you found those helpful? Do you think that people have tried to help you meet the licensing conditions and put measures in place?
I think it has just been a cat and mouse kind of a thing. I don't really feel 100% that they were. I can see that because it's when you are speaking with people, you can see a lot of them, yes, but somehow I think it has been not really helpful. But on other occasions, I can feel that support, like sending posters and everything, which we did, and put on the walls, which was okay. But some of the things which, like the toilet, when they were the cord it snapped, you could feel that certain things which you could do straight away, which would, but I think everything was being magnified kind of a lot. But yeah, I can say, yeah, Europe came, we understand, but at the end, I think because this venue, they objected it to be opened on the first go, they've been really, really after us to get it closed. That's what I feel. That's what I personally feel. They just wanted it closed.
And can I ask that why, after having received warnings from the man, a final warning, you still weren't able to complete all the measures that you'd agreed to do with them?
That's why we wanted them to point out when we met the second time which conditions, which specific conditions we were not meeting. Because when we had our first meeting and when we had our first meeting, we were meeting almost everything. And the ones which were last, I still remember the counter-terrorism and the safeguarding, we did them and we're meeting them as we speak. So I think we made progress on that.
Thank you. Sam, is there anything you would like to ask the licensee?
Yeah, I've got a few, thank you. So, despite police licensing and safeguarding saying that they've sent numerous emails, I think Catherine from the police said she actually sent you pretty much every resource possible. To date, we've managed to complete safeguarding and counter-terrorism training, which is great, and put up some notices. but there's still a continued failure to not open past your licence hours. Like, why do you keep opening until 3 a.m?
Of late, we haven't opened until 3 a.m. I think it was before, but not now.
Okay, so when we've advertised last month that you're going to be opening until 3 a.m,
This, I can see this Libra Fair was by a guy called Jahanif. Jahanif has not played for us, I think, for the past 7 months or 8 months. He advertised it 7th of October, but he didn't, there was nothing. He never came. I think he was in South Africa where he was doing his gigs. If you can follow him, his name is Jahanif.
okay.
He never played the Zambezi, I think about 8 or 7, 8 or whatever
Okay,
months.
there are also some posts from your own Facebook page advertising it from sort of last year while the application was going through. So while you were in these discussions with people about reducing your hours, you were still just advertising to open until 3 a.m.
Normally, we don't really control who throws these kind of things, but he didn't play. And because anybody it can be accessible to Zambezi, because it's a public, they can post. But believe me, we can run even the cameras for this one. He never featured in Zambezi. He was not there. It's not even 3 a.m.
So have you been advertising about barbecue and shisha at the premises?
We were thinking of having a barbecue, which would advertise, but we never did any barbecue. We don't do barbecues at Zambezi. I think we don't even do food in there. But sometimes we're not advertising things. We just want to bring people there. But we don't do food in Zambezi. The officers have come, they've looked at our cameras. They've never seen anybody even holding a piece of pizza in Zambezi, even a piece of sandwich. We don't do that. Even our bins, if you open them, they don't have any packet of food or anything.
So if we were to look at your Facebook page for the business now, there wouldn't be pictures of food at the premises on there, would there? Is that what you're saying?
There'll be no pictures of food because whoever does food, when we advertise, the next door where we do, it's a Jamaican place, which is next door, where there's a barbecue stand and whatever. So if people want to eat, they can go there and buy food. But we can just collaborate it together so that at least they can come. If they want to have food, we direct them to go there and eat. But we don't have any capacity to be doing any food in Zambezi.
Okay. And shisha?
At one point, somebody was celebrating their birthday. They brought shisha from a place called Wat Lounge into Zambezi.
So we're not advertising shisha either then on Facebook?
On Facebook, we've advertised because some time back, not anymore, because what we're doing is when we advertise people, when they come, when they want to have shisha, then we can send them to a water lounge to have a shisha and then take a break and they come back. And then when they want to have food, we can send them to the Jamaican place, they can have food and they come back.
Okay, so you advertise food and shisha, but when people come with the expectation that it's at your premises, you send them to another premises?
We have to work together with our neighbors. It's collaboration. We are empowering. They can send their customers to us. We can send our customers to them. So we'll be working together as a community in Attercliffe and as a team.
Okay. So what's the balcony then? What's that about?
We don't use any balcony.
Whereabouts is it? Like, because I think we've heard from Catherine that she couldn't see it. Whereabouts in the premises is it? Or on the premises, sorry.
In the premises on the side, you can go up to the balcony, but we have never used it. We don't use it. It was an idea which we thought at some point when it's in summer, we can have that, but we don't use it.
Even though you've advertised that you do?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Everybody's free to come and have a look to see if we use it. No.
Obviously, members and officers can take into account all information that's publicly available and within their knowledge, which includes things that are on Facebook. So I would just remind you that things can be checked and can be seen, and they are entitled to do that. So I would just caution you, if you're going to misrepresent something, that there are ways of looking into it further. So I would just caution you on that.
That's right.
So, how sustainable would the business be without an alcohol licence?
There'll be nothing. So there'll be nothing. Will it generate income? No way. So there'll be nothing.
So is the alcohol fundamental to the community coming together?
People, they come together to relieve their stress over a pint of beer, chatting, and all that. So it will be very, very important for them.
Okay. I think to follow on from what Councillor Woolhouse said about friends and family, so where you've operated in the past your licence hours, and you said it's family and friends on the premises, is that right?
No, it was after, when we were in breach, like we said, it was family. Other patrons had left.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
So
But,
when...
another time, we properly breached people in there, not just friends and family. So, and we're acknowledging that we've breached some licensing conditions in terms of times, and that much I've acknowledged it, and that's why I'm saying on that occasion we're having pressures to kind of, you know, the times which these people come, it's kind of difficult, it's a little bit late, and then that affects us as well in terms of wanting to keep the place going, because at the end we need some money, and maybe that's when it's pressures to end up breaching the condition of time.
So because of financial pressures related to the business, you have to open later?
Not financial pressures. The business doesn't have any financial pressure, but what we're saying is for it to continue moving on sustainably here and there.
You need it to continue?
We did, and that was unfortunate.
Okay.
Or I can say we get carried away, which means we have to be very much vigilant and proactive when it comes to timing, if we can keep the place.
Okay. Do you remember when you came to this committee last October? So you received a notice following the hearing, which sort of confirmed what was discussed and the outcome of that decision, which was to grant the licence with the conditions imposed by the responsible authorities.
Yes.
I think as well, you and your rep, this is just quoting from the notice, stressed the importance of being considerate towards local residents and that any complaints received would be dealt with seriously. You yourself said you'd be happy for a contact number to be provided by someone who would be on the premises when it is open should any issues arise, so that they can be swiftly dealt with. And I think we've heard from Mr. Singh that that hasn't been the case, has it? How have you contacted local residents? How have you engaged with them who are part of your local community who are suffering from noise breakout?
The only person, because it's very much difficult to find who is actually complaining, but I ended up knowing the person who is complaining. I think it's still the only person who is complaining. Not a lot of people, but maybe one person is the one who is complaining about the noise. And we've talked about it before, and when constant communication for some time. So I don't know what went wrong on their part, because everything has been okay for some time without complaining. And actually, I've tried to go outside a lot of times to check the amount of sound which we were producing from the premises, but I can't speak for them because it's affecting them. So I can't speak for them because I don't know how they are feeling it, but when I go and check, it's okay.
Well, I think you've been told several times what the experience is by Mr. Singh, by Ms. Jarvis, by the licensing service, that there is continued amplified sound breaking out from the premises, causing a statutory nuisance. So that's at a level that's lawfully unacceptable because it's too loud, and that is repeated. You've been told several times that this is happening, and you haven't taken any steps to address it.
Yeah, that's why we had put the noise limiter. That's why now there's double glazing on the windows to limit the noise. So I think that's quite a big move to make sure that sound is contained.
What more do you think you need to do in order for these people in the room and virtually to be happy with your premises? What do you think you need to do?
I think what I need to do is bring a new face, another person, another DPS, because what I don't want is to fail the community. So what I can do is I can move myself out of Zambezi and maybe find some candidate from somewhere to serve this community. I don't mind who chooses, but maybe somebody else, not me, just to have this community finding somewhere where they can go and relax. And maybe I talked to one of the guys before who used to do pubs, and maybe he was willing to do it a proper pub. And then he was saying you would maybe want to meet with the council authorities to discuss with them. He's completely from Haiti, not from Zimbabwe anyway. He has done pubs. I think he's got a good track record of running pubs, but I think you serve this community well when I step aside, and he can meet with the authorities and they can give him look at the conditions which are there, and maybe he can take it and move on just to serve this. But myself, I can exonerate myself from that, and I'll be doing some other things.
So would you still hold the premises license then?
Once we give him mine, I wouldn't want it.
So you transfer the premises license and remove yourself as DPS?
I'll remove myself as DPS, and then before even starts operate, I think we've got the authorities' emails or whatever. They can meet him, they can discuss with him, we can move forward like that, and I'll be off the books.
Have we not maybe had more than enough time to have considered this option before coming to this point, when we've heard that authorities have been meeting with you on quite a regular basis and expressing concerns? Is this not something you've considered previously? Because I'm guessing this is new information to everybody around the table that you've considered
the thing is, it's something which I've considered, but this is a process which has been started already. And then I said, let me see this process through, and then if somebody else new is coming, they can start from. We have a decision. I'll give them information of what has happened, what's going on, and then they can start from a new page, new chapter, and they will be seeing all the recommendations. Obviously, this committee is going to make some recommendations, going to decide. We don't know the decision. I don't know the decision, and then that's the information I would be willing to give to them, and as well. This is an option which I'm putting on the table just to serve the community, to say myself, I'm happy, I'm equally very, very happy to step away from Zambezi. I started it as my business to run it, and obviously when you run a business you want some income of it, but now this thing has become so big in terms of the community which is serving. Believe me, there's a lot of people who come there who knows about Zambezi to come and meet others there. So it will be very much unfair for me to go down with it. I'll be willing to give to somebody else, and they can start on a new chapter, and then I can move away. That's why I came to this committee today to sit here. I knew exactly that it's not going to be easy. It was going to be hard. I read the papers. I've read even the one which came today. I read it through. I read the emails which were sent to me, and I could see that it was going to be very tough. It was going to be very hard. I didn't say, no, I'm just going to sit at home and they make a decision. That would be very much disrespecting this community, this council, which has given us a chance. But what I'm saying is, for the benefit of the community, I would be willing to step down as DPS, complete it out of Zambezi, give it to somebody else who can serve maybe the community better.
And just finally, for now, are you aware that it's an offence to sell alcohol or to be playing the music outside of your licensed hours and licensed conditions? It's actually a criminal offence. Were you aware of that?
That much I can't comment on that one.
Because if licensing choose to prosecute, you could potentially receive quite a large fine and or up to 6 months in prison for that. So if the decision of the committee is to continue operating, I would just bear that in mind. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just to follow up a point you touched on earlier. You said the barbecue food was in collaboration with a business next door. Is that right?
Yes.
So what's the name of that business?
I can't tell the name of the business. I just know that there are the guys next door who do
The guys next door, it's on Stanford Road or on Attercliffe Road?
Pardon?
Which road is it on? Is it?
It's on Stanford Road.
On Stanford Road, and it's nearby.
It's nearby. It's a kitchen next door.
It's kitchen. Okay, okay. But you can't recall his name. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do the applicants have any questions for the licensee?
Just a couple, thank you, Chair. The majority have already been covered. Can I ask when you implemented the rigorous internal procedures as mentioned in your submission?
When do we implement them?
So you have stated in your submission, now implemented rigorous internal procedures to ensure we adhere to our licensed operating hours. Music and activities are gradually wound down 30 minutes before closing. Patrons are informed of last orders and no new patrons are allowed in. After a further 15 minutes, lights turned on, drinks cease being served and music is reduced to a minimum before closing. When was that implemented?
The moment we had a meeting with you, and after that, when we checked our cameras, we implemented that. But that's why I was saying, I think I've admitted to the community that there is some times when we had not met the conditions, like I was saying. So I think I've admitted to that already, that there are some times when we have not done exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Of course, we've implemented it, we've done it a few times, but we lacked on consistency. Because at the moment, you don't, guys have the report on when we're doing things right. The only reports which you have is when we did it wrong. There's sometimes when you've come to check, which have put in this, to say they came to check as if we're open, they found us we're closed on time. Second time they come again, they found that we're closed on time, maybe we've put it down. So it's not all the time when we're doing things right, when we've put it down, that they've done this right, they've done this right. Or which has come to us is when we've done it wrong. So we're saying, yeah, we agree with that, and we're sure on that one. But the day when they came and find us that we'd closed on time, it meant that we applied the rigorous approach.
Okay. So is the potential who you've stated you've contacted if you do remove yourself from the premises, is this a customer of the business?
No, the other guy is not a customer of the business. I just know him, that he'd been running pubs here in Sheffield. His name is Bawick, maybe you might know him. He has run pubs here in Sheffield, so I approached him because of this to say, look, I've tried, but I think in this stage in time, I've not done very, very well. And then, I've got the community behind me. Sometimes the person who starts something might not be the best executor. That's why people start companies and they hire managing directors, and then they can be out and the company is being run by other people. So I started this because I was very ambitious as a business person, and not knowing the challenges which we will face when we're running a club is something quite different from the other things we've been doing before. At some point, people who are serving the community, they don't know the challenges we face. Sometimes when we say, let's go, because they can say, no, just give us a minute, give me this. But if you're not experienced, and then because we're just looking at that, you want the customer to be happy, not knowing that you're destroying the business because of the conditions we are charged to it. So it's been a very difficult path. But for somebody who has been running this, who knows exactly that, it goes things by the book. That's why I went to Barwick to say, you have run these things successfully. Then if you can take over, then I'll be out of it. Then we can discuss how he's going to take over, and then he can take over and save the community. And then myself, I can take myself out. And you won't see me on those books or anywhere. Maybe as a customer one day, if I choose to meet the community, just as a customer, not as a person running the club.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask, on the Zambezi Lounge Facebook page, do you advertise the opening hours to customers?
I don't make the flyers when people put the flyers. Sometimes people they can put different times. I don't put the times myself normally.
Do you upload those to your Facebook page, the flyers?
Yeah, if a flyer is sent to me, we can upload it. We can upload it on the page. Yeah.
Okay. Do you check the content of that?
In terms of which area?
In relation to the opening times and what is being advertised to be taking place at the premises?
We can just post it whether it's saying a certain time, but the most important thing is when people come, the door staff will tell them that we're closing at this time, and when the time comes, the club is closed.
Okay.
So it's not because sometimes we can say 12:30, but by 12 o'clock everybody's left because there's no business.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay.
Any of the responsible authorities, South Yorkshire Police, who look like you have questions?
Just two. I just wanted to expand on Emma's question there with regards to the opening and closing times on your Facebook posts. You don't actually, from looking at your posts that are on there, hardly any actually show a close time. It just says till late. So my question to you is, why are you not communicating to your customers the opening hours of your premise, the last entry time of your premise, which is a licence condition, so you have specific times depending on which day of the week you're open as to when last entry is allowed and permitted to your premise. So could you answer why you're not communicating that on your Facebook page?
I think it's one of them things we should
Your button.
Okay. I think it's one of them things maybe which might have overlooked, not really taken that into consideration, but maybe in future, should somebody take over, if we are allowed to continue, we'll tell them to be putting those times for the public to know, for our communities to know times when they will be closing.
And then I've just got one further question. Why should the committee trust and believe that you will transfer this licence, if you're able to keep the licence, to some other person and also remove yourself as the DPS, when we've we've got evidence that you've misled responsible authorities with regards to the reasons for why you've been open past your hours, that you said that you weren't there, there was an emergency, which clearly there wasn't on the weekend of the 7th. So why should the committee trust and believe that you will follow through with what you say if they allow you to keep your licence?
I think there's always a need to give anyone a chance in terms of that area which you've mentioned. And I know that this is not going to be only me. If the authorities are not going to trust me, what about the person we are bringing? Is it going to be doing the same? I think people are, at least there will be 2 people, and I think they should face a lot of trust in the person who are bringing, because it's the person who is taking over. We have meetings with the authorities, who is going to lead the community, and myself. I think there'll be. I don't have any reasons to lie that I want to give somebody a community project and I want to remain there. Why I came here with my wife here today, and I told her exactly, it's so stressful. This has been so stressful for me in my house, yeah, with her. And then she told me on several occasions that, you know what, you've done your part. You should be proud that you've brought this community something. Now it's high time you concentrate with something. I own another business, not only Zambezi, but it has been taking a lot of my time. And my wife was late sleep nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's draining her. I am willing to give it to somebody else if it's still open, and then the community can enjoy it, and myself, I can take myself off, and I can go and relax. All those things which I do, whether I've lied or what, is desperate efforts to try to keep that open. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. That was not very nice. And you could see on my face, that was not very nice. I've been a teacher, teaching kids mathematics for a long time. It was so bad. I felt it and I still feel it today, what happened on that day. So you think bringing it back, it just brings it back. But anyway, what I'm willing to do before this council is, I don't want to continue. I will give this one to somebody else and they'll serve the community. It will be very much independent of me. You won't see me there to say, oh, Ernest, what are you doing here? I don't want it anymore. But maybe the community needs it. They want it.
Just one final. Are you aware that if the licence is revoked from you today, that somebody else can submit a licensing application to licence the premise themselves, and then that person can go through some rigorous checks and licence conditions can be applied to that person? So you don't have to just, obviously, there is an option for that person to submit their own licence application separate from yourself. Are you aware?
I'm aware of that, but what we're asking is for the committee not to be vindictive, to be very much impartial, and then to not to take any steps back for this community to be served. What I would, my opinion, and putting it to the committee, is for them to help us as a community to move forward from here, from this setback, and having somebody else there and continue with the service. So taking the service from the community, I think it will be very, very harsh on our part, because people, they don't understand all this which we're going through. What they understand is they wake up, they do their work, and they say, this time we're going to Zambezi, we're going to meet this, I'm going to meet you. So it will be, I think, for them, it will be very important for us for continuity. If continuity can be done, then that's fine. And we would appreciate that.
No further questions, thank you.
Julie, do you have any questions for the licensee?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Bob?
Thanks, Chair. Just one point of clarification question. The licensee, you've voluntarily offered to remove yourself as DPS and premises licence holder, is that correct?
To remove myself as DPS.
And premises licence holder? I'm sure that was mentioned previously, unless I'm mistaken. So I'd like clarification that you have voluntarily offered today to remove yourself as DPS and premises licence holder in front of the Chair.
I need clarity on that before I can make, because...
So we need to make a note of that.
Yeah, I need to make clarity on that. If it means premises license, are you saying premises license is going to be cancelled?
That's for the committee to decide.
No, I'm asking for your,
yourself.
just to clarify.
Can I get a pin?
I'm saying, what does it mean? If I'm going to take myself as DPS, fair enough. The premises license, that's what I'm saying. If the premises license can remain, not even me holding that premises license, but we want the premises license to be there for the community. That's where I would need clarity. It's too technical for me to say, when you're saying, are you removing yourself from the premises license? What does that mean? What does it imply?
Well, my understanding is previously you've provided comment that you do not wish to be affiliated with the premises, and you have voluntarily offered to remove yourself as DPS and have nothing to do with the site and the premises. My understanding is that's the premises licence. So you would no longer be the premises licence holder, and that's what we require clarification.
No, what I want to understand is there...
Let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
Will Zambezi Lounge Limited still continue to operate as the premises licence holder?
What we want, no, it won't be. Another company should come. The community can create another company, and then...
Okay, so just a point of clarification, you are contradicting yourself. Am I mistaken, or am I misunderstanding this, or...?
If you're saying you're going to have nothing else to do with the business, then you would automatically transfer the premises licence. That would be...
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we can do that, transfer to somebody. Because what we're saying is...
You can't do that, you can only add conditions, remove him as DPS, as you said, so you would have no overall day-to-day control.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have no involvement with it, you would give up being DPS, as you've said, which means you would have no responsibility for day-to-day management of the premises. But if you don't want anything to do with the business at all, as you've said, then the premises licence ought to be transferred to another person or company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You would do that.
What I was only not getting...
Put your mic on. Sorry.
Sorry. So what I was saying is, I can exonerate myself as DPS. That license for that can go to someone else, the community. They can sort out a company. They can have the DPS can meet, and whatever they can do, they can talk and pave the way forward. But what we didn't want is for me, when I'm going off as DPS and everything is cancelled and the community doesn't have that place to themselves. That's all I wanted to be clear on.
Thank you. No further questions in light of that response. Thank you.
Thanks. If there are no further questions, we move to summing up. So would the applicant please like to sum up your case?
Thank you, Chair. In summary, the licensing regime is concerned with the promotion of the licensing objectives which collectively seek to protect the quality of life for those who live and work in the vicinity of licensed premises and those who socialise in licensed premises. It's important to recognise the promotion of licensing objectives relies heavily on a partnership between licence holders, authorised persons, interested parties and responsible authorities in pursuit of common aims. We've heard today that since the granting of the premises licence on the 31st of October 2023, despite a significant amount of advice, support and guidance given both verbally and writing, the number of visits, warnings and being placed on an action plan to assist and support to achieve compliance with the licence. The licensee has continued to operate in breach of the premises licence, and it has been evidenced that on 3 occasions unauthorised licensable activities under section 136 of the Act have been committed. Despite the formal action and submission of the review, the Environmental Protection Service have continued to receive complaints of noise breakout despite of all the action that has been taken. The submission of the review and request for revocation of the premises licence is not only incredibly rare, but a last resort. Since the licensing authority became a responsible authority in 2012, this is the 3rd review application that the licensing authority have submitted. There's already 25 conditions placed on the licence which are appropriate to uphold and support the licensing objectives. There's no confidence that if further conditions should be imposed, that the licensee will comply with those. Thank you.
Thank you. And now it's up to the licensee to have the final say. It's your chance to sum up and just tell us any key issues that you think we need to take into account.
What I can only say is that this council should maybe really consider the plight of the ethnic minority people, mainly from Africa. Where can they go from here? I've done what I can, but I'm not a superhuman being. I started this for this community. We had our shortcomings, but really should we make this community suffer when we can do something? If we had been given another place by the council to say, right, this is another place for you guys to go and gather, enjoy a drink together, talk, discuss issues, that could have been great, but we don't. So this has been the place for them. We have got on Zambezi, on my WhatsApp here, we've got more than 200 people on that group for Zambezi, who is our community, who come and use this place for their birthdays, for some social events. They have maybe some best times in this country, which they can have at Zambezi. So for the responsible authorities and the council sitting today, surely there's something we can do. I myself, I'm already doing something to step down on something which I had started, which I felt in my community is something very big. They like it, they enjoy it. But yes, I've had some shortcomings in terms of the rules and regulations which are there. But surely somewhere, there should be somebody who can do a better job. Our people have managed wards, they've managed companies, they've done events, big events, successfully. So surely we should have somebody there who can be a face of this community using Zambezi Lounge for people to gather, express themselves, enjoy, and on the nutshell, meet the authorities' conditions, which sometimes myself I had some shortcomings, but I think there's somebody else there.
Thank you. So, could we have the options then, please, Shelley?
Thank you, Chair. The options open to the committee today are A, modify the conditions of the licence, B, exclude a licensable activity from the scope of the licence, C, remove the designated premises supervisor, D, suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, E, revoke the licence, or F, reject the application for review.
Thank you, Shelley. Can I now ask the licensee, applicants, interested parties to leave the room with the licensing officer while we'll take some legal advice and come to a decision. And as soon as we've made that decision, you'll be, if you wish to stay, you'll be invited back in and we'll tell you what the decision is.